but we just wanted to make sure our audience, heard some of the same information. It is with great pleasure and pride that we are back to present the remaining Carmel High School class of 2023 National Merit Semifinalists to you. Each year, over 1.5 million juniors take the preliminary SAT, which qualifies them for consideration in the National Merit Scholarship Program. Of these 1.5 million students, less than 1% are recognized as National Merit Semifinalists as a result of their exemplary score on the PSAT. Once named as semifinalists, these students are invited to apply for finalist status and compete for one of 2,500 scholarships worth $2,500 each. Semifinalists who earn finalist status are also considered for corporate scholarships and merit scholarships at their chosen colleges and universities. Carmel High School is excited to share that 56 current seniors have been named National Merit Semifinalists. Let's give a round of applause for that. Now, I want to add just a little context to that. The first time I was not here, and partly was because I was at our large high school consortium that we participate in with 5 different cities across the United States. Those groups of schools that we meet with we are part of that because of academics and because of enrollment. And so to kind of put this in perspective, or that number in perspective, not every school is of the same exact enrollment, but they are like. And the closest school next to that in our 10-school consortium had 38. So that kind of puts it in perspective what an accomplishment it is for Carmel High School to have 56. During the month of September, these 56 seniors, along with their CHS counselors, worked to complete the application for finalist consideration. This extensive application provided more in-depth information about these very talented and multifaceted students, including academic and extracurricular accomplishments, a student essay, and a counselor letter. These seniors will learn of their status as a finalist in late January and whether they have been awarded scholarships throughout the spring semester. At this time, I would like to invite Melinda Steffen to present our class of 2023 National Merit Semifinalists who were not able to attend the first time. And I'm glad we're doing it a second time because I get to be here as well and congratulate these individuals. So on behalf of all of Carmel High School, our staff and administrative team, to each of you that are here tonight, we are so proud of you. Congratulations. Keep up the great work. You're not done yet. We've got a little over a semester to go, but we are so proud of the work that you have done. So congratulations.
It is my pleasure again to present our class of 2023 National Merit Semifinalists. Students, when I read your name, if you'll come up front, get your certificate and your congratulations, and then you'll walk around and let the board members congratulate you as well. Tanay Acharya. Abigail Burnham. All right, we can do the Carmel clap after each name. Sorry, I forgot that in the instructions. Jason Chia. Gitia Chituri. Eliza Culbertson. Julia Dong. Eric Guo. Aiden Hornsby. Haley Hunt. Daryosh Huram. Tae Kim. Vineeth Kundur. Shinwoo Lee. Suhani Loda. Allison Ma. Noah Moreau. Jillian Moore. Mindy Sim. Ishan Singh. Kate Smith. Mia Sosa. Gary Srinath. Olivia Stock. Grace Yang. Matthew Yang. Grace Zhang. And Harry Zhang. Please join us in congratulating these semifinalists. You missed it.
We have no public comment tonight. We'll move on to our consent items. Do I have a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Yeah, we're gonna take a short pause, and families, we know it's a school night, and so you can go ahead and go, or you are welcome to stay and learn about math. All right, we will now move on to our one discussion item for tonight, the 2023 legislative letter. Mrs. Spannenberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Board, each of you should have, actually you don't, and that's okay. Do you? Okay, I know Katie does. Dr. Beresford and I, along with Jennifer, have been working on our legislative letter. We are planning to bring before the board an approval to take action at our next board meeting for the letter. And what we have in our letter is very similar to what we have used previously. We know that we certainly do appreciate the work of our legislators in developing initiatives to promote education. That education really is a noble, respected, and rewarding career. And we really were hoping that as our legislators are looking to develop policies and statute, that they look through the lens of the educator need in our state. Educator recruitment and retention is a must, top consideration in our opinion, in our school district's opinion, and we want to be sure that all policies and statutes that they're looking to bring forward are really, they're using that lens to ensure that it will support our public schools. As we have in the past, we are going to continue to partner with our legislators to provide them with resources. We certainly are a credible resource in the field of matters related to education in so many different aspects. And we do know from past experience, even the most well-intended laws that are put into place sometimes have a very negative financial outcome. And we want to be sure that those are addressed before we actually, or they, approve any legislation. There are 4 areas that you'll see in the letter that we feel we can best partner with our legislators, and these are 4 specific areas that we know we would like to see legislation put forth to support workforce, regulatory relief, special education law, and support for students in the district, and then the matters, student safety. Each of those areas, as you look through the letter, regulatory relief, there's over 450 mandates that we have between Title 20, which is the education statute, as well as 511 of the Indiana Administrative Codes. Over 450 that have been around and that continue to grow. So we would like to see maybe a sunset on some of those and some flexibility for highly achieving school districts. Dr. Beresford is working with Seamus, with KGR, as well as our general counsel, and with specific legislators to see what areas that we could actually put some sunset on some regulation. For workforce development, we, as you know, are in crisis mode, not only in Carmel Clay schools, but really across the state. And we are across the state critically short in several areas: special educators, counselors, social workers, bus drivers, food service, but in addition to all of that, behavioral health therapists. And so we are hoping that our legislators are going to be creative in finding ways to really build the workforce in the state of Indiana to help support these particular areas, as well as our teachers. As we'd say, we all believe there's a common element to workforce, restoring joy and happiness to lifelong learning. Special education, we recognize that there's limited resources for behavioral health, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to find those resources for our students. And several of our special education students have difficulty with some violent, dysregulated behavior and need resources. And we as a school district also need resources. And this isn't just Carmel Clay schools. This is all of our public schools in the state of Indiana. So we're hoping that our legislators, our letter at least, will bring some conversation into this area, and hopefully some additional resources will follow. Student safety is another highlight that Dr. Beresford and I have discussed along with Jennifer. Dr. B, would you like to touch on any of these 4 areas?
I would just point out that we're not alone in we did not, define these 4 areas, but there's a lot of districts that are facing similar circumstances. Right now today, and I didn't check today, Dr. Erstreich, but there's still openings all over Indiana, open positions for teachers, and you mentioned some of the high need places. We're fortunate here in Carmel Clay to have our teaching positions filled, but then as you move backward from there, our non-certified staff, which would be our instructional assistants, our food service workers, our custodial maintenance, bus drivers, those we do have open positions for. And so the workforce issues is huge. One piece of that also is that we want to kind of change the narrative that teaching is an honorable position. And to go back to, you mentioned joy and happiness, that I think all of us can probably sit in our chairs right now and think of a teacher that really made a big difference in your life, that you wouldn't be right here right now if it wasn't for that one person that inspired you or taught you, or gave you that information that you got passionate about, and when it maybe had an impact on your career choices, or just made a subject so interesting it made you want to be a learner. That's the kind of narrative we want to hear, and we want to promote. Part of the staffing issue is always funding, and so we'll want to encourage our lawmakers to because this is the biennium where the budget for the next 2 years is going to be determined. That's always a big piece. And the regulatory relief part of it is just that I call it kind of like a mini barn bill, because you know how you put stuff in your mini barn and then it just stays in there and you never get it out, and at some point in time you go, we got to clean this out. Sometimes I think Article 20 is like the mini barn. There's a lot of stuff in there that's old and antiquated and could be either sunsetted or taken out. A lot of the issues with regulatory relief is just redundancy and inefficiency. We'll have, I think, Mr. McMichael's office, they input the exact same information over and over and over again. Dr. Dudley and her grants for state and federal, same information over and over and over and over again. And it's just that in this day and age of technology, I think we could probably do better than that. So there's a lot of different pieces to that regulatory relief piece, but a lot of it's just focusing on a lot of data reporting for sure, and then some training issues that a lot of teachers have to do every year, when really they could probably do it every other year or every third year, or even when you renew your license. So there's some just inefficiencies in there that could be a positive thing. I also think that a lot of these layers are all things that could really make the teaching profession more appealing, and so we'll keep track of all those, but hopefully get some positive work there. Well, there is an interest in that at the State House, and we're just supporting that basically. So that's good. And then student safety, of course, is always going to be on the top, the top shelf, and all the different layers that we have, but we're also not. We don't want to stay stagnant. We want to keep working with that. Right now, the state currently gives us a safety grant, which is a matching grant, and I believe it's $125,000, $150,000, and we feel like that would, that's been that level for quite a while. That could be something that could actually be doubled, and then a lot of districts. we don't have too big of an issue with matching that, but some districts that are smaller than us do have an issue with matching that. So maybe taking that match away would be helpful to some districts as well. But lots of layers of safety, as you well know. So at this time, we take any questions you guys have.
Questions from the board? I don't have any. I just wanted to make note as, I know in years past, we've kind of switched to this letter format. I really do like this instead of just listing out our priorities. I think it's also as, it signifies too that we want to partner with our legislators and we want to be a resource for them. So I think that that's just another example of that. So thank you so much for your work on this.
It's our pleasure, and I think you're right. We're not here to tell the policymakers what to do. We're here to help them, give them accurate information so they can make the best decisions they can. Thank you.
And then once we approve some form of the letter, we will have that posted to the website.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right, we will now move on to our workshop topic of the night, the math program evaluation. Dr. Dudley.
Thank you. So this evening, we're excited to share with you our math program evaluation recommendations. Dr. Rhonda Peterson is our Director of Curriculum and Instruction that oversaw that process. And she's going to share with you those recommendations. And then we also have some friends from Smoky Row Elementary School that are going to share with you some things that they're learning in math. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Peterson.
Okay, thank you and good evening. Thank you for having us back again to talk about the subject of math. We couldn't stay away too long because I heard you had another favorite board meeting, so I had to come back to sway you back to the math side of the house. All right, so I would like to start out by talking about our program evaluation as well. We've been working really hard over the past several months with our educators, K through 12, to study our math programming and get their perspectives on where we are today and where we should go moving forward. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that and then get to the exciting part with the kiddos that are here with us. So as you have recognized in the past, I'm sure, all of our content areas go through a program evaluation from time to time, and we all follow this process that you see on the screen this evening. We take a deep dive into all areas. We look at our previous recommendations. We celebrate our accomplishments, and as you know, we have many. We tell our story, our mathematics story. And then we take a deep dive into research, best practices. We look at our mathematics standards that we currently have in Indiana. And we began to identify key findings, questions of inquiry, and so forth. We collect and analyze student test data and all of those things and start to begin to identify strengths, needs, challenges that we currently have. And with all of that, we develop program recommendations. And those program recommendations help guide us moving forward with professional development with teachers, what materials we might look at moving forward, and so forth. This slide really helped to ground our work in program evaluation. There's a lot here, so I'm going to try to skim over the highlights here, but this is NCTM's 8 effective teaching practices. So this is what we've really been working on in our math classrooms, and you're going to hear a little bit about this evening from our teachers, instructional coach, and our kiddos. So what we're trying to really encourage in our math classrooms today is setting mathematical goals that help focus our learning. We also try to implement tasks that promote problem solving and reasoning skills. We want to see multiple mathematical representations or different pathways at identifying how we get to a math solution. We also, I think this is the most important part, we want to encourage our kids to talk about the math. And hopefully our students today will talk about what that looks like in their classroom, but talk about their thinking and why did they choose to do it that way. And how do they know that they got the right answer? So we want to hear more kid talk than teacher talk in this day and age. Teachers are posing purposeful questions, and we want our students to pose purposeful questions, and we model how to do that. We're building fluency not only from learning facts, which is very important, but we also want to build conceptual understanding. And that's just basically the why behind the mathematics. Why does it work? Productive struggle, and that word kids don't like sometimes. We don't always like to struggle in math because sometimes it feels hard, doesn't it, math? But we know that the magic in learning happens with the struggle. So we want to encourage that in a math classroom. And lastly, we're looking for evidence of that thinking. We want kids to think about math and not just mimic procedures that they've memorized. Okay, so all of that we tried to capture in 4 program recommendations. The first one is mathematics instruction reaches all learners when students gain procedural fluency through conceptual understanding. And remember, that's the why behind the math. Number 2, mathematics instruction reaches all learners through frequent problem-solving opportunities that build strong number sense. And number sense is the foundation for all mathematics, understanding numbers, how to take them apart, how to put them back together, and why they work together in the way that they do. Number 3, mathematics instruction reaches all learners when students engage in mathematical discourse or conversations and productive struggle. And number 4, mathematics instruction reaches all learners when it is responsive, equitable, and accessible. And what we mean by responsive is that we're responding to students' needs, that we're always looking at assessments, but also listening in on conversations and trying to customize our instruction to our students' needs. Equitable and accessible, meaning that supports and scaffolds are in place so that the mathematics is accessible to all learners. Okay, I'm going to pause there and just kind of take you into the window of the classroom and how all of this plays out. So this is an instructional shift that we've been studying with our teachers. And just one piece that we've pulled out, and you're going to see this tonight with our students. So instead of just giving a routine task out of a math textbook, now we're really trying to bring it alive and make it into a reasoning task. So teachers use tasks involving recall of previously learned facts, rules, and definitions, and provide students with specific strategies. That's what we typically did in a math classroom of yesterday. Now we're starting to move where teachers use the task that lend themselves to multiple representations or different ways of solving the problem, strategies, pathways, encouraging student explanation, the how, and justification, the why and the when. Okay, and just quickly, if you're looking into a classroom of today, the teachers might be doing these things. We are selecting tasks that provide multiple entry points. That means all learners can access this task, no matter what level we are at. We're posing tasks on a regular basis that require a high level of cognitive demand. We're supporting students without taking over the thinking. Sometimes teachers tend to take over the thinking because we don't want our kids to struggle, but we're trying to let the kids be the ones who are talking about their thinking and taking over the math classroom. And we're also encouraging students to use varied approaches and strategies, which I bet our kiddos will do a great job at tonight. What are students doing? They're persevering. They're making connections to prior understanding. They are accepting and expecting a variety of solutions, not just one way of doing something in the math classroom. All right, so enough of me talking about this. I would like for you to hear from our instructional coach, Alex Johnson. She's been partnering with Mrs. Delth in her 3rd grade classroom at Smoky Row Elementary, and they've been trying some of these new strategies with their classrooms. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to them, and I want them to talk about how has this impacted the culture of your math classroom, and what impact has it had on student learning?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us this evening. We are just really having a wonderful time with math at Smoky Row. Mrs. Delph, I'll let you take it up.
So as a 3rd grade teacher for the past few years, the shifts I'm seeing this year with these new math practices have just been kind of mind-blowing. Definitely a much higher level of engagement. It might be a lot louder in my classroom, but the loudness is coming from them talking about their math, and 98% of the time they're engaged and on task and just really excited to be sharing their thoughts. I'm seeing a higher level of a transfer of skills from one set of something we've done before to a brand new skill they've never seen before, and being able to make connections across skills, and kids being able to dive into these high level, high cognitive thinking tasks without fear and without the nerves behind it. And what if I get it wrong, and not knowing where to begin? They just kind of start somewhere and hope that they come out on top, and they are really just diving in and really accepting what Dr. Peterson was talking about with the productive struggle. And we say all the time in my classroom that you can do hard things, you just have to get started. You don't have to be perfect the first time. And that's why they lean on each other and communicate and really share their thinking. And we talk about agreeing and disagreeing and being able to just share their strategies and accept what other people are doing. And so that is a kind of a quick lens into my classroom, and I know that Ms. Johnson would want to share more.
Thank you, Mrs. Delph. Yes, as an instructional coach in an elementary, I'm in a building that I've been in for a very long time, and I am so energized by what we're doing with math right now. Just as Brooke was saying, that snapshot of one classroom, we're seeing it across several different grade levels. We've been partnering with all of our teachers at Smoky Row and really building their capacity and understanding for the 8 effective teaching practices that are presented by the NCTM, and we're just loving it. We've done some rich tasks as a staff. That's been a lot of fun to do that at a staff meeting and see how our teachers are responding and engaging. And then it's just been wonderful to partner with a variety of our teachers and get into those classrooms and just see that high level of engagement that Mrs. Delph was describing, and also to see that accessibility for all of our students. Anything from striving mathematicians to students in our high ability classrooms, they are all highly engaged, and we're seeing growth. We're seeing data to back that up, seeing successful test scores. Teachers are really celebrating what's happening with assessments in math and seeing the students growing as a result of all the work that we've been doing. So we are just very excited. Go math. That's my name. Thank you, Dr. Peterson.
Thank you. And at this time, we would like to invite the school board members to engage with us in a rich task. And the kids are going to help us through this. We have 2 kiddos, Cade Brown, come on up, and Izzy, come on up. Thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate it. And we're going to move our chart paper. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to split up into 2 groups, and we are going to attempt the baseball task. So go ahead and start reading that on the screen if you would like. And then we're going to give these mathematicians some time to think about how they want to, that's perfect, how they want to begin to solve this problem. It could be in a different way. I bet it will be. Go ahead and use your markers and begin working on this baseball task. And yeah, board members, if 2 of you would like to join Mrs. Johnson and 2 of you would like to join Mrs. Delph, that would be perfect. Thank you. Microphone? You want to be on? No. Okay. All right. That's okay.
I noticed that what he used was so for the one with 4 kids, he had 4 circles and then made a body. So he added some detail to show and I noticed that instead of just doing an array how I did, he um did I'm not sure how many groups of 4 I to get 76. Um
I noticed this on Faith, and at first I thought he was drawing smiley faces, but then I realized what he was doing there. Izzy, why do you think that these are connected in there?
because there were 2 there.
So what do you think he was counting?
Twos. Something I was going to try was adding a key, but I don't think I had time. I was gonna add a key over here for the for children, and here was for a row was a packet of baseball cards.
Izzy, Izzy and Kate, I have one question for you. What do you like about Mrs. Delph's math class? What do you like about this type of learning? Can you give me an example of what you like about it in your classroom?
Sometimes we can add details, and sometimes you have to be efficient. Then sometimes we do both.
Nice. Kate, do you like math this year? Tell me why.
Because when we add groups, we can count easier and represent our work with pictures.
Is it fun to work with classmates to do math?
Yeah,
Your mom told me you've been coming home loving math this year. Is that true?
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Good job, Izzy. If you have any further questions for me, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you might have about program evaluation or about what you saw here tonight.
Well, first off, I would like to thank our littlest presenters. You guys did such a good job. Thank you so much. I learned quite a bit, and we need to get these kids some baseball cards. Questions from the board? Layla?
Yes.
I see how we've integrated these concepts for the elementary schools. How does this translate to middle school and high school with more complex material?
Yes, great question. And I almost inserted some pictures of this happening at middle school and high school because it is. They're referring to it as vertical spaces and where they pose complex, more complex, rich problems that are appropriate for middle school and high school students. And so that there are a wide variety of curated tasks that teachers have access to, that students can utilize in middle school and high school. And as I mentioned before, they have multiple entry points where some of our more struggling students can still have access to the mathematics in a different way. And it does challenge our highest level students as well, because the mathematics is complex. So next time we'll try to show you some videos and pictures of this happening K-12. But it is a universal strategy that we can use in all classrooms.
Did using these strategies, does this require different textbooks, or are we just implementing these strategies with what we currently have?
Both, both. We can pull tasks out of the textbook and either use them as is or make slight modifications to make them more rich and highly engaging. There's kind of a movement going on in the United States. There's lots of different mathematics educators coming together and curating these rich tasking and sharing them on. There's Facebook groups, there's Twitter groups of mathematicians or teachers sharing these rich tasks and curating them together. So it can be out of our textbook, or it could be an example is Jo Bowler. She's out of Stanford University. She's one of kind of the people behind this movement in the United States. And so she has a website dedicated to this for teachers. Another one is Illustrative Mathematics, kind of grew out of the standard change in the United States. So it's been happening for a while now, and it's really starting to catch on universally in the United States and here in Carmel Clay schools.
When did we complete the program evaluation and implement these strategies in the classroom?
Yes, our program evaluation ended in August, and now we are looking at materials that kind of mirror this philosophy or that can help magnify or support this philosophy. So we've been really sprinkling some of these, or piloting, if you will, some of these strategies in classrooms throughout the district with the help of our instructional coaches, our department chairs, teachers who have attended conferences in the summer and want to just try to grow this. It is really about changing the classroom environment and the culture of the math classroom and making sure that it's a safe environment for kids to take risk and that it's acceptable to have a wrong answer and explore mathematics in a different way. So it's growing. I wouldn't say that it is in every classroom to the degree that we would like it, but we're going to get there over the next several years.
And then what type of professional development are we providing to bring everybody up to the standard to be using these strategies?
Absolutely. Well, I have always said, this is my 4th year here, and I have always said our instructional coaches are magical, and not every district has that resource, that human capital. So we really study these strategies on a frequent basis with our instructional coaches and our department chairs. And so they partner with teachers like Mrs. Delph to grow and practice these real time in the classroom. So we'll continue to do that through instructional coaches. Also, we have summer opportunities where teachers can come and learn and then take these strategies back to their classroom. There's also a local organization, Keep Indiana Learning, or Central Indiana Service Center, who's supporting this work as well. They have a leadership academy called Indiana Math Leadership Academy, and some of our teachers are part of that, myself. And then another teacher leadership math academy as well, and we have teachers that are participating in that this year. And hopefully we'll continue to send teachers to that organization. So lots of different ways that we're providing professional development. When we do select a math material program, the publisher will also provide some professional development and kind of pull out the pieces of the math program that support this philosophy.
My very last question, and I don't know if this would be for you, Mrs. Peterson, or if this would be for you, Dr. Dudley, but what does the turnaround time look like for measuring growth? Once we've implemented some new strategies, different curriculum, what, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think that first and foremost, we're going to see it real time in the classroom. And if I invited Mrs. Delft and Mrs. Johnson back up, they see a lot of what I call qualitative information, qualitative data, real time. So we're going to see that first. I think over time, we're going to see it in our iLearn scores as well. And that's our ultimate goal, is to try to grow those scores. We're already a very high performing school district, as you know. We typically score in the top 3 or top 5 for sure in various grade level spans. But we're after that #1 spot. And really, at the end of the day, we want student growth. We want students to feel confident as mathematicians. We want them to be able to access math that they didn't feel like they had access to before, and especially our more at-risk populations. We're really targeting those areas. So we're growing all learners. But ultimately, I think we'll see it in our island scores, but I think we'll see it first and foremost in the culture of our math classrooms.
And I would add, I think we're not going to see it overnight in our iLearn scores. It is going to take some time. I think another piece where we really look at growth, because in our iLearn, we're not looking at growth, we're looking at where they are to the standard each year. But where we will see growth, and it'll start with individual students, and then we'll see more and more in our NWA scores, where they'll look at what are students ready to learn. And as they really dig into this and this deeper cognitive load that they're working on with that problem solving, they'll be ready to take on more robust questions, and we'll see that growth there sooner than we'll probably see it in our iLearn as far as improvement.
Thank you very much. It was fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Great job, students.
Thank you. I really appreciate seeing the simulation. Application is really important, right? So we can have slides up there and we can imagine what it's like, but it's a greater impact when we can see for ourselves how this plays out in the classroom. So I just really appreciate that, and thank you to our volunteers. Couple questions. How are we determining where we are implementing these strategies and where we're going to maybe postpone that implementation?
Right. We really would like to grow these strategies in all grade level spans, and it's going to look slightly different as far as which task we're choosing and that sort of thing. But really, it's hopefully growing universally in all schools. And like I said, we have the instructional coaches we have at the elementary, 1 per elementary school, who kind of guides that, along with our principals and assistant principals and teacher leaders. We have lead teachers as well. So we're not necessarily choosing a particular school or grade level span. It's kind of we're planting seeds and kind of watching it grow universally, K through 12.
Oh, okay. And then what about supplemental services and support? So students that we see need additional support because maybe they're not grasping it in the current way that we're teaching it. And we've got these awesome instructional assistants that know how we're evolving the program. So do we have a strategy yet for how we can maybe leverage this new format or this new learning approach in areas where people need or children need support, especially at the high school level?
Right, absolutely. Well, we feel like there is power in students working collaboratively together. You know, you'll see at the high school when they're doing vertical spaces, they call it random groups of 3. So they want to randomly mix up students of varying ability levels so they can learn from one another. And we're encouraging that math discourse, like I said, so they can hear the thinking of their classmates. We feel like students learn the most when they're hearing about the pathway the other and the strategies of other students in their classroom. We also feel like the answer to intervention is through this as well. Rather than pulling kids out and working on isolated skills that may or may not be related to the classroom instruction, we feel like providing this rich core instruction in the classroom is kind of the answer to meeting the needs of all learners. I don't know if Dr. Dudley wants to add on to that at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so making sure that our core instruction, as we said, is very rich and it's very, we're making sure that it's meeting the needs of all students within the classroom. But then we do know we have some students that need that additional practice. And one of the things I know that our committee is looking at is what are those programs out there? And some of them are the core programs that also have some intervention programs that directly align with those. And so those are different materials that they're looking for that they could use to implement and give them supplemental. So it's not replacing the instruction that's happening in the classroom, but then it's giving them that supplemental practice in addition to. And so that's another piece that I know the committee is looking for, as we discussed last week. We were actually just talking about those different programs out there. And so what that might look like in the, the elementary school, it's during the math workshop, if students need some extra time, they may get that extra time with an IA, or it may be the teacher doing that, and the IA is working with other students in the class, or the students are working as partners. At the middle school and at the high school, at the middle school, it could look where they're working in Core Plus, and that could be with their math teacher, or it could be with an instructional assistant or another intervention teacher. And then the same at the high school where they're in SSRT, providing that additional help. And what would that look like in those structures, and who might do that? That might be a math teacher, that could be another intervention teacher. And also at the high school, we have the added benefit too of our tutorology. And a couple of years ago, I know we brought some of our AVID students where they're working on where their point of confusion is and not giving the students the answer, but also using that platform of where's it breaking down, the learning breaking down for you, and how then do you figure out that answer. So there's lots of different avenues at the different grade levels. And one of the areas I know they're looking at is what might be those additional supplemental materials that may be helpful for that area.
Well, that's helpful. And can you speak to a little more detail, Dr. Dudley, the first question that I had around implementation and how are we rolling this out at the high school level, like the timing? Because I thought originally she said it was just kind of, we're figuring out maybe where we are going to lean in and implement it right now versus later. What's the timing for?
So for the, as what was presented here tonight for the rich tasks, those pieces, we're implementing that, as Dr. Peterson shared, all over the district K-12. And so at the high school where you'll see students engaging in vertical tasks, and so they're doing that problem solving. That's before we even look at what materials are we looking at. Right now the committee is reviewing materials, they're reviewing what are those materials out there and how are they going to meet our needs, and they have developed a rubric. And then once they adopt those new materials, then we'll bring those materials in and we'll make sure all of our teachers are provided with that professional development. But that will be at a K-12 level as well, and provided the support on how do we implement those new materials. And so those materials would be adopted this spring, and we would provide that professional development the spring and the summer, and then into the next year, they'd start implementing them next year.
2023?
Correct.
Yes.
With the new materials, correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I will say we're really encouraged by the programs that are available out there now. They differ highly from 10 years ago, so we have a lot to look at. We've been really digging, especially at the elementary level, some really high-quality programs that did not exist 10 years ago. So we're really encouraged by what we're seeing.
Like anything? Thank you. This is very exciting. One of the things that I also loved with this is all the skills that were happening in addition to the math. There was public speaking, there was description, there was communication, there was collaboration, there was all these different things that were happening at a very young age. It's not easy to speak to a whole bunch of adults in front of an audience, but they did beautifully, and I think it's these great skills that we're teaching our kids. So my daughter is a product of AVID. She's in AVID right now, so they have what they call TRFs. But same idea is where they're teaching other people how to do things. And I don't know about your teenagers, but mine don't like to listen to me, but they'll listen to their friends. And so I think that that's another great thing of letting them listen to those peers and to learn from the things that they're struggling with and all those things. I think that's really great. So I'm excited to see where this will go.
Thank you.
So thank you for your hard work. Anything else? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, we will now move on to reports. Dr. B, and then thank you so much, everybody.
It's a school night, I know. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks a lot for tonight. That was amazing. And to echo kind of what Katie said, it was wonderful to see both of them were solving those problems different ways and coming up with the right answer. So it wasn't like, here's the model, fill in the numbers. It was, let me figure this out. They were both verbalizing, how they solve the problem. What do we do, as adults? We have problems we solve, we collaborate with others, we come up with our own side of what we believe is right, and then you mix them together and collaboration, and great things happen. So what a great example of that. So thank you for your work, and thanks for sharing your kids with us. My superintendent report, it's 5. It's just 5 things, so I'll try to go fast. But this week is Education Support Professionals Appreciation Week. So this week we're appreciating our instructional assistants, our special services folks, our computer technicians, our interpreters, job coaches, avid tutors. And so that's who we're recognizing. So throw a little love that way to those folks in your buildings. Number 2, Creekside Middle School is the Indiana Association of School Principals Academic Spell Bowl State Champions. So congratulations to the Creekside team. Carmel Middle and Clay were also, I think, in the top 4, and so qualified as well. So congratulations to our steely-eyed middle school spellers, number 1 in the state. Saturday night was also the runway for Riley. So our high schoolers put on a great fashion show, all to benefit Riley's Children's Hospital. So those events are kicking off all around with the Riley work at the high school. I want to congratulate our new board members, Kristen Coquet, Greg Brown, and returning board member Jennifer Nelson Williams on their election wins. And Kristen and Greg will begin their term in our first meeting in January. Then I wanted to just do a shout out for last week's Veterans Day programs that went on all over the district. Just a lot of cool things going on. I was able to see almost all of them, I think, on social media one way or another. But personally, it was my pleasure to be able to attend the city's Veterans Day ceremony. And I was so proud of our Cherry Tree Elementary Choir. They sang several patriotic songs, including the Armed Forces medley. And that one always gets me, because when they sing the song for the branch that the veterans are in, they stand up, and a lot of times they salute. And it's just a really special time. So it wasn't, I don't think you could get more appropriate that the Cherry Tree Patriots were singing songs for the true patriots that were in the theater there. It was really good. Also, the winners of the K-5 poster contest and the middle school essay contest were all from Carmel Clay Schools. And the elementary winners were interviewed by the mayor. And I don't know if you've seen that, but it is so cute. And he asks them a lot of questions about their picture and how, what they made and why. And it starts with kindergarten and goes up to 5th, so that the answers change quite a bit as the kids get older. Also, the middle school kids read their essays, and just blew me away. They were really, really good essays. One of the highlights, maybe my favorite highlight, was the main speaker, who was retired Army Lieutenant Colonel Justin Cocker. And he served in Iraq and South Africa. And he gave kind of a brief history of Veterans Day, how it started out as Armistice Day with World War I, the war to end all wars, but that didn't last very long. And then they changed it to Veterans Day after that. But his main point was that veterans have worked together and fought together for years, and they still do that today, regardless of their differences, because they worked for the common good. And he challenged the veterans in the House to lead us back to that place, and he really challenged all of us to work together for the common good, which I thought was great. That leads me to the bell ringer. And the bell ringer is the Marching Greyhounds are the Bands of America National Grand Champions, and that happened on Saturday night. I had the pleasure of seeing the incredible state finals performance that was on November 5th, a week ago Saturday. And that resulted in the Marching Greyhounds earning the state championship, and I thought that was just amazing. And little did I know, the best was yet to come. And at 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night, our marching band took that show to another level. And they always add things to it as they go. When they got to the Bands of America national final, they just blew it away. They swept all three of the awards. So that's only happened, I think, maybe 3 times in like 20, what is it, 30 years they've been doing Bands of America, maybe more than that. And so they were, so they took the music performance, the visual performance, and general effect. And so, but end result is they were named the Bands of America's grand champions. So kudos to our students, the directors, the parents, the volunteers. They have just a huge number of support people around them. And the details are just amazing. So well done, Marching Greyhounds, national champions. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anything else from the board? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Second? All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.